Morning all. It is. Oh, there's a lot of wobble in this. May not be the best thing. So apologise for the wobble on the camera. I'm out in the woods again. It's Thursday the 18th or 19th of November 2020. And yeah, I've got a fairly important, this is quite important. This could be the start of something useful. So, everybody's got different opinions on how we make life on this planet feasible for human beings. There's a lot of philosophers, a lot of smart people, a lot of people looking into their own particular causes. There's a lot of divergence from getting anything done. Small groups of people, relatively small groups of people, want to fix things, but they're fixing specifics. And there's nothing wrong with fixing specifics, but those people are only going to achieve their specific small goal. And even Extinction Rebellion, even UNICEF, the World Health Organization, are looking at a very specific set of things to fix, and they're doing a great job. They're trying to make a difference in the world, make everything better. However, and whilst I want them to achieve their specific goals, if they're doing something laudable, we need, as a species, to back up those efforts. We can't do it without us. We can't do it in spite of us. We can't do it in spite of people who have a different agenda. It's the problem. I can only walk along the normal paths of the woods because it's just too damn muddy. It's been raining for a couple of days. I get our 1 or 2 days of sunlight and it's still not going to dry everything out. So yeah, where was I? So yeah, people doing good stuff can't do it without us. Okay, that's a truism. Okay, so hold that in your mind for this next bit, which we kind of need to turn into a meme. Where we're safe to express our political opinions, and this one's going to be a biggie. And again, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what seems to be the natural order of things. It doesn't matter where I am, who I am, or what power I've got. I've got like one thing. I can talk into a camera, or I do talk into a camera, albeit badly. So yeah. Okay, so here it is. We need to, as the Bible and the Talmud says, and by extension the Quran, the books of the Buddha, all that stuff, all that religious stuff. And we need to look at the books of philosophers, the books of economists that want to change the world for the better. The opinions of everybody that thinks they stand for something. We're not asked to stand for something all that often. So here it is. We need to sort the sheep from the goats on this one. Yeah, we really need to pick sides, unfortunately. However, I think the vast majority of humanity will pick this side, and this is a concept that I believe can transcend religious boundaries, can transcend racial and cultural boundaries. Okay? We've still got loads of little wars going on all over the world. We're still being distracted by the news media that want to tell us about the latest big shiny thing that's going on, and those things are going to happen and we need to know about them. But we need to start from scratch. We can't achieve anything until we know what it is that we need to achieve. You can't just say this needs to happen. We need to say why this needs to happen. We need to say what the fundamental building block of changing the world for a better place is going to be. And any Lego set, any plan, any model train layout, any religion, any philosophical movement, any family, any relationship, any work of art, where it all needs to start. And you need to start. Whoa, I'm not walking down this and looking into the camera. There's no way I'm doing that. And we need to start with a basic. Who is the tribe? And who is the external force acting upon the tribe, trying to destroy it? And right now, there's a tiny percentage of people that are seeing personal short-term profits on every war, every act of natural destruction, every imposition of their way of looking at the world on other people, you know, and it's greed. Wherever you find a war, you find someone that's pushed it into warfare because of personal greed. Wherever you find a conflict anywhere in the world, it's greed. Someone is making money and short-term gains from fighting wars. Okay, but just, you know, everybody put their hand up if they think that's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. People are dying. Countries are being pushed into poverty, servitude, enslavement, all for the good of a very tiny amount of people. Okay, so I think we can consider rampant greed, not the I'm going to have an extra yogurt or an extra chocolate bar, the rampant greed, and I'm going to have all the chocolate bars or all the bananas. That's got to stop. Okay, because that rampant greed is by its nature, forcing other people elsewhere into a kind of poverty or a slavery or an indentured servitude. It's a lot of people, and it was the case that fully a third of the world's population in 1900 was in some form of indentured servitude or slavery. Okay, so that's what greed does. Somehow, someone decides that they should have all the cookies or all the bananas or all the chocolate bars, and they impose, sometimes over generations, that indentured servitude. Okay, that's a bad thing. So we can start off with greed is bad. Okay, and poverty's bad. Poverty cuts us off from the ideas and the artistic output of billions of people worldwide. Those people aren't able to express themselves. They're not able to offer suggestions or solutions because, you know, because they're in poverty, and it takes all their time just to survive. Now that's great and okay if you're in a hunter-gatherer society, but there are very few of those in the world. Okay, and what's more, greed is basically impinging on their environments. Let's just have a look at the river. This is how much it's been raining. It's flowing very fast today. River's flowing deep and fast there. Yeah. So can we start with greed and poverty are bad? Okay. Greed, poverty, bad things. Now, 99.5, 99.9, 99, most people, the vast majority, us, the us people, all quite happy to say that greed and poverty are bad. And then you can get most people to say that, but then they say, but. But. So greed and poverty are bad, but. Okay. Well, that but comes from a place of, you know, distrust or hatred of another group of people. Okay. So we're never gonna, really complicated. I have wandered off the path, don't do that. So yeah, so essentially, you know, we're taught that some people, you know, usually a large number of people in the world are bad. And that's not true. They're raising kids, they want their children to survive, they want all sorts of stuff. You know, they just want to get on with their lives. You know, nobody wants to be fighting a war. Nobody wants to be in poverty. So our reasoning for disliking a whole bunch of people, usually people poorer than us, usually people that are different from us in petty ways. So you end up by saying we need to get rid of hatred and division, because those are things that are allowing the war and the poverty to happen. I know this sounds like really, really elementary crap, but we forget it. We get lost in our own lives. We tolerate the machinations of people who literally only see the world as somewhere where they can make themselves more wealthy, so they can have power and they can have the freedom to do what they want. Somewhere in the world they can act like a king because they've achieved wealth and power. Now normally that wealth and power springs entirely from inherited wealth, so which is again greed. Amass a whole pile of money, your children inherit it and use that massive pile of money to generate yet more money. And that's been the way the world has gone since the first person stood up and said, I want more than the other person. And it's a basic drive. You know, it's a really pathetic drive, because it harks back to a time when people didn't have anything, and some people in a very small group of hominids, one person decides they want more because they're bigger or stronger, and then their children inherit that power and capitalise on it. That's why religion generally approves of the divine right of kings, because that's the way a religion survives. You know, a new religion moves into an area, the local power, you know, the local powerful person says, well, what's in it for me? And the head of that religion says, oh, we believe in the divine right of kings, so you're all right. And then those religions prosper, but the divine right of kings remains a core tenet. You know, economic systems, you know, new things come into the economic system, that economic system, or the people that represent it ask, what does it do for me? And thus more power is consolidated. So yeah, so you can see the greed thing is kicking off all the other stuff. And if people didn't live in poverty, they'd be able to more effectively collectivise their willpower and want no poverty. There shouldn't be poverty in the world today. You know, it's like all sorts of, I mean, you know the statistics. 1% of people, or the top 60 people in the world, own as much wealth as the lower half. But it's more than that, you know. If you divided up all the wealth in the world, we'd essentially, by modern economic tenets, all become middle class. So the middle class shouldn't be the enemy of the working classes. The only enemy of the working classes are the people at the very top, who manipulate world markets to ensure that a large percentage of us, 99% of us, remain in relative poverty, which is insane, because we've got things to do, we've got things to fix, we need the ideas of people, we need that engineering for us to carry on about our day. So what's the point in disliking someone because of their sexual orientation, their gender, their race, their religion, or their political beliefs? Because those things are such marginal differences in the world, where the real differences are the multi-billionaires, the people working towards trillionaires, the people saying we must have 3% growth, which is a doubling every 24 years, or 28 years rather, of you know, sort of industrial output. That's insane. You know, we can't look after the people we've got on this planet. And generally speaking, the reason people have lots of children is because a lot of those children don't survive. If people could wind it back in, you know, sort of like, you know, repeated endless pregnancy is an oppression on women. You know, it interrupts their education, it interrupts their ability to do stuff for the children that they have. You know, yes, it might be nice if you have everything dialed in to have a nice family, but generally speaking, if you've got a large family, that's at the expense of other people. It's not important because that's way down the line compared to the really big things. So we've got three things there. We need to end greed, the kind of greed that's destroying our planet. We need to end poverty, the kind of poverty that's preventing us from coming up with solutions or credible opposition to that greed system. And we need to end hate, disliking someone just because of who they are. That's pretty pointless, because who they are, 98% of who they are is Homo sapiens. I want a relatively comfortable life that I'm prepared to work for, have a reasonable number of children, reduce the Earth's population, come up with ideas to make energy more efficient and our comfort levels more efficient, less waste. So yeah, so that's where we're going to bring it to a close. And this needs to become a meme. End greed, end poverty, end hate, or we all die. It's as simple as that. There won't be any history if we don't get our shit together and agree on a core principle that we can all start moving from. You know, you can't be a middle class person telling everybody else, you know, what they should be doing in order to save the planet, but they're always talking to the working class and other middle class people. That's no good. We need a, you know, like a sprinter needs a block to start from. We need this starting block. We need a place to start, and this needs to become a meme. End greed, which will end war. End poverty, and end hate. And most people, the vast majority of people, can do that with a snap of their fingers. They can decide. And then it will be very, very, very obvious who's not on the team. But I think the people on the team will number in the billions, and the people not on the team will number in the tens. We can't help the people that actually want to change things for the better, and we can't come up with more people that will actually want to change things for the better unless we start from the same place. So have a think about those people you hate. I mean, obviously there are criminals, there are individuals who do terrible things that we're not going to be able to get on board with. But far more damaging are the people that are destroying the planet, that are kicking off wars for personal gain. And just let me clarify. No one starts a revolution or a coup or a war without becoming immensely rich. No one starts division without becoming rich. So you'll never find a poor person, you know, a working class person that hasn't been completely reprogrammed, that will ever advocate for a war. Because who dies in wars? Mainly poor people. Whose infrastructure gets destroyed? Whose homes get bombed? Who has no right of appeal? Who has no standing after a war? It's always poor people. Wealthy people do very well out of war, thank you very much. You know, if you look at the private spending of people, even in places like the Soviet Union and China, they become the leaders, they become wealthy. In the Second World War, the Nazi high command was incredibly wealthy, and they made even more money getting the people living in ghettos to manufacture goods for them. Go watch Schindler's List. There's always somebody, you know, the people that start wars generally are the people who stand to benefit personally the most. So yeah, I'm going to say it again. End greed, end poverty, and end hate, or we all die. And that needs to become a meme. That needs to become the sort of thing that goes viral. Can we all agree on one thing? Because if we can all agree on one thing, there's a good chance we can agree on green energy. There's a good chance we can agree on ending poverty. There's a good chance we can agree on ending hate that puts our children in danger. And if you have hate in your soul that cannot be, you know, resolved, then your job is to hold on to it and not spread that hate. It's your hate. It's your disability that you need to hold in. It's your failing that you can't see that the group of people you hate is mostly comprised of poor people, people who don't have the same advantages of you, that you think are going to come over the hill and take your stuff. But if we end poverty and we end greed, why would they want to leave their homes? Why wouldn't their home be the best place? That's where everybody speaks their language. That's where everybody is of their culture. That's where they feel at home and cared for and cherished. So yeah, end greed, end poverty, end hate, or we all die. And that needs to, this is a shout out to artists. That needs to appear in your song lyrics, it needs to appear on your embroidery, it needs to appear on your woodwork, it needs to appear in your films, in your photographs, in your music, in your sculpture. There's no more important sculpture than one that says exactly the same. I mean, this is kind of like an artistic strike, in a way, but a creative strike, where during our period of strike, where we stop producing, you know, meaningless jingles, or we stop producing art that tells people what they want to hear, we go on strike until it's fixed. As creative people, end greed, end poverty, end hate, or we all die. It's as simple as that. You can spread it. Everybody's got multiple accounts on social media. Everybody's got access to someone that can do something about it. We spread the word and things change. And the people who choose not to support that have chosen a side. And the people who do support it will be the people that write history and said, you know what, there were people that would not take it on board. And anybody that can't take that on board is going to be the opposition in this struggle for the continuance of the human species. So if you print t-shirts, if you design coffee mugs, if you make things on 3D printers, if you do embroidery, if you do knitting, if you do anything that's creative, if you weave baskets, if you translate languages, whatever language it is, that's a pretty simple message. There's no room for wiggle. There's no room for wiggle for people of a religious bent. There's no room for wiggle of people of an atheist bent. There's no room for wiggle for people of different colours or genders or, you know, orientations. We can all say this, we can all understand it. Because the people that will not agree are going to be in the minority. And if we can get the majority of the planet to agree, we can start solving those problems. But we can't until we've got a starting block. End greed, end poverty, end war, or we all die. We need a block to start from, and that's when we can actually start saying we've got progress. You know, this is ridiculous. We live on a rich, fecund, you know, look at it. It's beautiful. And we're selling it down the river, we're going to destroy it, something else will evolve, humans won't be able to live here. And all those people with billions of money, billions of dollars, in some cases hundreds of billions of dollars, need to take note. And we need to resist in any way we can so that we all start off from a starting block. And out of that starting block, people will make progress. What is the point of being a billionaire on a dead planet? What is the point of being a billionaire if you're hidden in a bunker, eating your last can of dog food while the angry mob circles around outside? You know, it's even the people that oppose us we're saving. So yeah, this is the most important video I've ever done, I think. I wish it could be better. I'm going to put a banner on the start and end of my YouTube channels, everything I put out. End greed, end poverty, and end hate. And maybe you've got to swallow down your hate so your children don't get infected by it, so that they can be part of the winning team, humanity. Nearly 8 billion of us. So yeah, I leave it to you. And you know, I know there's only, at the time I'm speaking, 46 subscribers to this video. This is a very childlike response, I get it, but we need that first Lego block. We need that first block of concrete to place our feet against before we sprint and change things. And anybody that cannot get on board with it, absolutely anybody, is necessarily the opposition to human life on this planet. And we need to know who those people are. They need to, you know, stand up and be counted. But we're not going to achieve anything until we're all starting. I believe that the vast majority of people, 99.999% of people, there's only a few hundred people on planet Earth that will oppose us. And they're just people, surrounded by other people that do their bidding. But if we can start off with this, we can maybe change everything for the better. We can maybe persuade those people with untold wealth. We can maybe persuade those people whose foreign policy affects mostly poor people around the world. You know, or a person they got a problem with. But in most cases, it's a business that wants to make more money. We need to stop it. We need to stop it in its tracks and stop doing business with them. That should please the anarcho-capitalist syndicalists out there. Doesn't matter what your politics are. There's having a planet and not having a planet. There's being afraid of everybody, or being part of everybody. You choose. It's time to pick sides. End greed, end poverty, and end hate, or we all die. That's it. That's going to be how I'm going to end every video from now on until this picks up, until we got a starting block. So yeah, take care.